Hello, coaches. Thanks so much for joining us for the recent podcast interview with Adam David, Head of Performance Analysis at Maccabi Haifa. Life into analysis at Champions League level. Phenomenal. Talks about day-to-day processes. Also talks about the journey to get there in terms of career advancement and what you need to do. Please subscribe to the page below, Modern Soccer Coach Gary Cernine, and also check out Spiideo in the link below. They are kind enough to sponsor the podcast and the work we do. Also video analysis. Please check out Spiideo, get in touch with them, how they can help you, your coach, and your team. Thank you. Enjoy. Adam, thanks so much for joining me today on the Modern Soccer Coach podcast. Really excited to have you on.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Where do we start? Like we just chatted briefly there off air about your journey. I'll probably come back to some of that there. Head of performance at Maccabi Haifa FC. Big role, big club. What is it? Well, let's start with what does a typical week look like?
So this season, up until very recently, we had a European competition as well. So I think we've had about 7 games already, which is what a normal team would have here in a full season. So it's been very hectic. We've been abroad 9 times. So I think this season, especially with this whole year thing going on, we kind of noticed that the whole video and analysis gets a really big role because you don't have much time to train. So it took a very big role. So we literally have video sessions every day. If you take the classic week, you have your games that you're preparing for. So, a lot of watching and learning the opponent's data and video individually, team level, all that kind of stuff. And then, trying to basically find what we're good at and kind of fit that into that puzzle to see that we can, bring ourselves in the best way, understand where the spaces are and everything. And then, when you have time, you train about it. When you don't have time, it's just, sessions and video and very creative ways to kind of get the message across and get everyone kind of to feel ready for their games. So that's basically what I kind of am about at the club.
What does the post game? So say the whistle blows, 24 hours. What does that 24 hours look like? No sleep, I imagine.
Sometimes, So we have this rule. We call it the 24-hour rule. After every game, we give the players 24 hours of kind of their own distance to be with themselves. So it's if you win your game, be as happy as you want or whatever. If you lose your game, you can get down and take your head down or whatever. After 24 hours, the day after, they're going to come and they're going to do, mainly just getting their body kind of back to shape and very light stuff at the training ground, whereas the players who didn't play or played less are going to have a intense training session. But we're not going to get into meetings too often on that day. It's kind of a very, loose day to clear your minds. And then the day after, we've already analyzed everything, understood, our main messages of what we want for us going forward. A lot of the time, because of the amount of games, we're going to connect some stuff that we took from that game and kind of connect it to the next game already. So the post has kind of some, flow into the next game already. Then we'll have, our first post analysis session. And then depending on when the next game will be, we'll keep doing sessions. Some of them will be looking and reflecting on our game. Some of them will be reflecting on training stuff that we've been, planning for the next game. And then, watching the opponent as well.
For you specifically, say it's a night game, say it's a 7 o'clock game, finishes 9, 10 o'clock. Do you go through it? Do you analyze it right away? Do you wait till the morning? What's your process?
Yeah, it really depends. Sometimes, like, I don't even leave the stadium, and I do it even at the stadium. I'll watch a full half. Sometimes I'll go home and do it overnight. Sometimes I'll do it the morning after. I know that I need to get a very good quality session for basically 2 days after, the morning of 2 days after, right? Because we have the 24-hour rule, and then we have the day after. So I want to be at my best. I want to be most focused. So I kind of just go with how I'm feeling and make sure it happens. The morning of the session, I'll go over it with the manager and the assistant coach, everything I made. And sometimes the manager himself likes to do post-match as well because his background is very analytical. So we'll be doing that. We'll be doing Zooms sometimes on the +1 day. And then we'll just deliver a very good session to the players in the morning. So yeah.
When you meet with the manager, are you giving him the list of like the moments and the clips, or have you already kind of put down your opinion on the most important ones and given a report?
Good question. So definitely at the beginning of working with him, so that was basically last season we came in together to Maccabi Haifa. So at the beginning it was just to kind of just be there for him and kind of let him run through everything and say what yes, what not. But with time, and actually pretty quickly, I'd say we kind of connected about, our minds kind of connected, and I know exactly what he's looking for, what he wants. So I can totally just do my animations. We like a lot of, colors and animations and to make it kind of, fun and attractive to the eye. So yeah, I'll just kind of, run through that normally. And usually he'll take everything, or maybe one part or two parts. He'll say, yeah, you can cut that off or change that a little bit, but usually it's going to be whatever 90+% of what I already made, and we run on it. So it's fun, and because he gives me that responsibility and trust, so I take it seriously and like it's my team, like I'm coaching the team. So it's great.
Yeah, it's a great starting point. Is that like for the analyst seeing the game through the eyes of the coach? Is that almost like the first step?
Yeah. It just makes everything so much easier, and especially with him, he's very open-minded, very calm. He's a lot more of a listener than like so direct and everything has to be my way. He's the opposite of a control freak, and I feel like there are managers that are like that, and it's a lot harder, I think, for an analyst to work with them. But for me, it's just easy because I know that he trusts me. We see the game in a very similar way. I know exactly what he wants to be looking at, what's less important. I focus on it. Sometimes we'll talk about a few topics during the day after, stuff that he's seen, stuff that I've seen, and prepare a session together.
Let's just say he's not that. Let's just say he's the opposite of. You mentioned other managers, coaches, head coaches that aren't those skills, and I'm sure there's a lot of that'll be listening and this here, people listening and saying, right, well, yeah, I struggle with my head coach in that process. Yeah. What's some advice to kind of go through that there challenge?
Yeah, I've definitely been through that as well, and I think that in those situations, you just need to be very well prepared. So what I used to like to do was to make everything ready on a neutral perspective, so he could do whatever he'd want with it. But then also put the stuff, let's say that the way I do it today, and have that ready. So have both of them kind of ready, and then say, look, here's everything. We can do whatever you want, but there's also this that I made here. I think you might like it. Yes, no, whatever you decide, and everything's here that we can keep working on from a neutral perspective, kind of like you said.
When you're doing your presentation with the head coach, has experience taught you, or what has experience taught you in terms of not rushing through, because I'm sure you're aware of time crunches and keeping their attention. How do you balance that?
So I think one of our kind of agendas as a coaching staff is to be very analytical and to go very deep into detail. And also we're very closely connected with the players. I mean, like, I get countless messages at any time during the day, night, same with the assistant coach, goalkeeping coach, everyone. We've got a lot of communication with the players, and we kind of have this really strong feeling that we're all in this together. I think that with time, they really understood that this makes a huge difference on the performance. And even here in the media, we're spoken about as a very well-coached team. And they all benefit from that kind of, keeping the shape, knowing when to break it, when to beware, all that kind of stuff. And so everyone understands that they benefit from it. And also, the way we dig into set pieces and stuff like that. So we can really get them concentrated for quite a while. And the sessions kind of, they can go 15, 20 minutes and people are really in, the manager, he'll be delivering them mostly. And the goalkeeping coach will be delivering the set pieces. But I'm with the computer making it, making it happen and looking at them, and they're really, synced in. And more often than not, there's going to be questions after, and they're going to come up to me and say, can you go back to that point? I want to see that again. can you send me this later, and stuff like that. So it's really part of the conversation day to day, and that's just, a lot of work, a lot of effort putting into it, and also delivering it in a way that makes it interesting and shows the player that it's for him.
Yeah, just staying on that then with those messages with the players. Do you find that are you facilitating more clips and more dialogue through informal, like WhatsApp, text, or is the majority of it formal? Here's the platform, it's going on there, go and get it.
Yeah, again, good question. Yeah, so definitely both. We're gonna have our daily session almost every day, except for that one day after the game, and we'll even have a session on the match day as well. Usually we come into a hotel around noon. We go in for a 15-minute session, 10-minute session, whatever, and then go eat, nap, and then go out to the game. So it's literally every day. And yeah, I'll get messages a lot on WhatsApp. A lot of players want that kind of individual feeling, and they even kind of make it into like this kind of routine that they have. Like, I want to know that I'm sitting with analyst, or I'm sitting with the guy, the coach, or I'm sitting with him before the game, just to kind of run through the things again, run through the options that I'm looking for, run through the press, run through the timings. So it's just became part of our daily routine.
Yeah, this is fascinating, and this is a tough question, I'm sure, because everyone's probably different. But are there more people then looking for that press, that collective information, or some looking for specific scouts that they're up against, or like what's a couple of examples of what players would look for?
Yeah, it depends. So I've got a center back that 4 games I put individual clips, about 3-4 minutes of every opponent player. So I have some players that watch the whole starting 11 plus the 3-4 main subs, usually the attacking subs, and I have players who are going to watch only their matchup. One of our fullbacks, he watches just his winger, and then I have players that don't want to watch any of them because the match preparation session with them about the opponent was enough. So everyone kind of takes it to its own place, and we're all fine about it. We do. We don't push it, but we show that it's all there, and just come and ask. And one of the players, he will always come and sit with me on the match day about the build-up, about what defense he's facing, what options are going to be the best. So it really kind of it's just a player-led kind of thing now.
We'll get into that player-led work. There's when I was looking at the website, I counted 19 staff members on. I couldn't believe it. Like, and you've got yourself and the S&C and data and coaches. You mentioned there about the quality of the head coach. I mean, what are some keys to like that collaboration? How does it work?
Yeah, so it's quite a bit. I mean, just in terms of analysts, we've got 3 full-time, and then we've got another 3 part-time, and we've got another few on who are now joined us learning. They finished the course. So they're doing very, very small amounts, but starting to get in. So it's a big team, and I'm very clear with what I want to get. The coach is very clear with what he wants. I know what the players like, so I just make sure they get everything. So again, from the post-match to preparation to filming training, tactical trainings, and making a lot of animations on those, using the huddle. So yeah.
What's the breakdown in analysts in terms of, is there a game day is there a practice analyst, or how do you break down those roles, responsibilities?
Yeah, so I'll kind of oversee the department, and basically kind of more of a coach-analyst role, because I'm on the pitch every training, and I'm helping the coach deliver the training, because our head coach is more like a manager. He won't really deliver the coach. He'll be there, he'll watch it, he'll see things. He'll be part of the planning, but then the assistant coach will kind of take over on the on the pitch itself. So I'm kind of as his assistant maybe on the pitch, and then so the other analyst, video analyst, he'll be filming with the drone the training. The third full-time analyst, he's only data, so he'll just be data post-match, pre-game, learning the league, learning players, and also doing a lot of scouting. And then the rest will be working mainly from home. Some of them come in once a week, some of them twice a week. But again, gathering more information, doing individual videos on opponents, Just always trying to get that extra edge that we can, prepare ourselves the best and be ready for the games. So yeah, that's kind of how it'll work.
The role of data, I know you're on social media, so you see like it's mass, like it's so mainstream now, it's getting everyone's attention. I want to ask you how it actually works, and we won't go down that road, but like for someone that has someone specifically in data, what are 2 or 3 ways that they help you in that post-game report or in the scouting as well?
Yeah, if let's say I'll actually start with the opponent. So I might have, let's say, a game 3 days, whatever, after the game before, and I'm also doing some post-match, so I might only watch 1 game or 1.5 games of the next opponent, and then a few more clips from other games, but I won't get to too many. And then he can come from his perspective and say, look, this is what's happening with this team and with each and every player throughout a whole season. Here's the numbers, and I might have seen a specific game where one player was totally not himself, or had an outlier game. So yeah, that kind of data gives me a very good perspective about about the opponent team, who's dominant in what areas, weaknesses, where players are going to be on the pitch at what times, things they tend to do, tend not to do, data as a team, and then it kind of helps me learn them, and we like to kind of make some kind of idea and story before every game. To make it kind of interesting as well. So we'll tie a story from the data to the video, and then sometimes to our past experience with the club or anything else that's kind of on the agenda, and kind of tie it all together. Also, the data analyst will be digging into our physiological numbers, and we're going to use that a lot. And the players are very they know what's going on with that. So we'll link, let's say, counter pressing to the amount of times that the opponent has done a counterattack against us, if they're a good counterattacking team, plus the numbers of our intensity, HSR, sprints, and stuff like that. So we'll just find creative ways to make a story, connect things together, and deliver it that way. So the data analyst is very important. And then in set pieces, also his role is huge, because he'll identify the most dangerous players, who gets the most chances, where the crosses go to, all that kind of stuff that helps us a lot preparing for set pieces.
Let's take a step back and talk about your journey. You worked at Chelsea as well, and you worked with the under-18s. How was that role, and where did analysis fit in the week?
Yeah, it was just unbelievable experience for me. Initially the reason I kind of wanted to go out to England to study there was basically I kind of felt that our football culture here in Israel is not good enough. We're not developing enough players, and hence the national team hasn't been doing that well. We haven't gotten to a major tournament since 1970. And it's our national sport, and it's super popular, but we're just not being successful at it. And I always felt that we're very good at other things, and why not let's be good at this? So I kind of wanted just to learn from a good culture, and England is just, it's amazing how developed and how much thought and money is put into the whole academy and youth development. And then you get to Chelsea, and that's basically just maybe the top, probably the top of that. And you learn, how a system works, what they're aiming for, how they work with the kids, how the coaches speak, how everything is planned in advance, what the aims are, how to get each kid to kind of, achieve his potential. And yeah, it's just mind opening, and it was unbelievable. And it just got me, thinking a lot of critical thinking about how things work in other places. So yeah, it was just really a mind opener. That's how I see it.
Well, who was the head coach at the 18s?
Jody Morris.
Jody Morris, how was that? He comes across quite well talking about the game.
Yeah, a great guy. We used to take the same train together after games, so I'd catch some chats with him. That was nice, because he had his main analyst who's been there for quite a few years, and I was one of his assistants. So yeah, there I kind of was introduced first to coding games, and kind of all the technical side of things, but then also seeing what their agendas were and how they'd speak with players, and actually they kind of let us do a lot of individual stuff with the players. So there's like this nice analysis room, and we were sitting there, and players were watching themselves. They were watching the players from the first team that play their position, watching their clips, and just kind of having chats about it over there. So that was really nice.
And he still has the record for the youngest Chelsea first team appearance. Yeah.
Really? Wow, I didn't even know that. Yeah.
So having his perspective, like he must be, for young players that want to get that level, he could be real.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, that kind of very nice mix of, on the one hand, like very composed, but on the other hand, you can see he's like very much in it, and he knows what he wants from his players. So that was really nice.
We had Michael Scabella on a couple of months ago talking about Loughborough. I know Eric Ramsey, Kieran McKenna, a lot of coaches that have come through the background and now are doing really well in the game. How was the Loughborough experience for you?
Yeah, again, just super brilliant. I mean, I think it's kind of like the heaven of sports. I mean, first I landed there, and I got there with my suitcases first time after signing up, and I was like, I was just shocked. I mean, the place is just massive, endless sport. Every single, I mean, there's so many professions that I didn't know about, and types of sports I didn't know about, and roles in sport I didn't know about that they all have here over there. And the research is fascinating. The lectures are just unbelievable. So yeah, the sports management, what I really liked about it again was that it was very widening and very broad. So you had psychology, sociology, history on the one hand, but then you had law and business and everything to do with sport together. So it just kind of gave me a very wide understanding of sport, and just the opportunity to dig very deep into it. So yeah, I've just been a sports freak my whole life, and it was just kind of the natural next step for me just to see what's going on even more.
Hi there. Have you heard of Cloud Studio Anywhere? It gives me the ability to call any game from anywhere on any device. I can add scores, times, sponsors, lineups, even create highlights all in a few clicks. I can do it from here, or even from here. The broadcast is just as professional, no matter where I'm sitting. Let me quickly show you what a game looks like. I would start by clicking this and saying something like, "Welcome, what a beautiful day for soccer." Before we kick off, let's get to the lineups. I could go on and on about how this changes everything for commentators, but now I need to get back to the game. You can read more about Cloud Studio Anywhere on Spiideo.com.
What did you learn, going back to Chelsea, what did you learn? I mean, I can imagine that that's the cream of the crop, worldwide talent. It's as close as you're going to get to the best 18-year-olds in the world all together. Yeah. What did you learn from the players about how they wanted information, how they took on the analysis, how they wanted feedback? What were some takeaways?
Yeah, so I think there's a very special thing about the environment you grow up in. So I think that players who grow up with, let's say, analysis, and it's been given to them, delivered to them, and they take responsibility over it in a good and positive manner, they're going to kind of want it for life, and it'll just be a habit. And that's something that they succeeded with over there. So it was just part of the day. It was part of what every player would do there, pretty much. Places where they don't kind of have it from a young age, and all of a sudden you jump in with it. Sometimes it's like, wait a minute, like computers, football, what does this have to do with one another? So over there they were very successful with that, and yeah, so that's kind of my first impression from being inside a real football club was actually there. So it was definitely not at the time the regular example. I think since then, in the past 5-6 years, this whole football analysis has developed like so fast, and academies that are a lot smaller now will be already getting their players used to it and having them grow up on it. But yeah, back at the time, I think it was just very, very special, unique, and it was kind of, I think they were the first who were getting very deep into it.
That's fascinating. Brings us on kind of nicely. That you worked at the under-9 age group as well, so there's analysis going on, because over here you would say, right, under-9 analysis, people wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
obviously that's why you would do it then, because you would tier it up to when they get older. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. So what we would show to the players was a very, very minimalistic part of what we'd go through, let's say coaching staff. To the players, mainly every 3 months, we would just take loads of clips from the games, training sessions, and just, being around and just putting in motivational, fun videos with their favorite songs, showing goals and stuff like that, just making them kind of, laugh, enjoy, and pass it on obviously to their parents. So their parents would feel good and they'd feel proud and they'd send it to their friends and stuff like that. That's what we were doing in terms of showing it to them. Behind the scenes, we were tagging things that were basically that had to do with the agenda. So the monthly, weekly, yearly agenda. So at Chelsea, for example, they try to develop the 1v1 skills. Like that's basically the main thing that they'd be working on there. So it's how many 1v1s does a player take? Does he give up on doing them when he has a chance? Right foot, left foot, where does he run to? Where does he start them with? Things like that. So that's what we would kind of be looking at, saving data, speaking about with coaches. And then, that kind of develops into the IDPs that the players later get, individual development plans that every player has is kind of, what the kind of academy sees for him. And then in the right moment, the player will also be part of that and will take responsibility over his own, individual development.
You did a year of scouting at Hapoel Tel Aviv. Scouting is similar to the data. It's very, very interesting as to where it all fits together. I wanted to ask you how you balanced the subjective and the objective information when looking at the professional level scouting.
Yeah. So over there, I was doing the analysis and scouting together. So I had just loads of stuff on my mind all the time. So I think over there, what I kind of found was I'd use a lot of the data for filtering mainly. I just understand what the coach was looking for and what kind of players he liked less and liked more in terms of countries, in terms of leagues. Filtered all that down, according to the profiles, according to the budget, according to things like that, we had to just filter down and look for the best options. And then that's where kind of the video comes in. You just watch him a lot, and then you try to kind of actually something that was really nice about Loughborough is that I got a very good international group of friends that basically almost in every country I had a contact to call, and they could go and kind of, check about the person himself, what kind of a person he is, behavior, habits, things like that. And I thought that was very important, and they value that a lot over there. Because sometimes when the player's just on the Instat or just on the Y Scout, it's what you see on the pitch is not always what you're imagining, and who he is off the pitch, which is, as important at least. Especially, now from experiencing here the locker room at Maccabi Haifa, just a bunch of positive people, and it just, it does its own thing. It does its own magic.
I forgot to ask you one question. When you're at Loughborough, how do you get the job at Chelsea? How did that come around?
Yeah, so there's this thing called a CVA at Loughborough. That's basically this website that has all these sporting options come up. So I think one of the things that the uni is most proud of is that they've got very good rates of people working in their fields when graduating. So they really push you to kind of, make your CV, make your cover letters, apply to different things to get experience, even stuff that's not paid on campus, to help organize events and stuff. They just kind of want to get you moving, get you into that feel of that you're working and that you're doing stuff and filling up your CV. So I started the Loughborough analysis soccer department over there, turned it into a department, and we had 4 or 5 analysts. We worked very close with the coach, and that kind of went on and on and on. Because prior to that, it was mainly in the rugby that they'd have analysis. And then so I was getting my experience, and then and Chelsea came up as one of the options. I mean, I tried to go to, I remember, a scout at Huddersfield. I tried to go as a summer summer school teacher at Notts County. Didn't get those, but then the Chelsea one actually went through. And yeah, I think it was a few hundred of us who kind of tried to get in, and then it went down to interviews. So I actually flew in from Israel for 24 hours just to do the interview, because it was during the summer when I was home in my first summer. Flew in, did the interview, came back, and yeah, good decision.
Oh, there's a few things in there for coaches. I'm going to ask you at the end, advice, but like there's a few things there that's, like you mentioned about starting an analysis department. A lot of people seem to wait. Well, I'll get that next job, I'll do this.
Yeah.
What you're saying there is you started something to prepare you when you got there.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably kind of my personality. I like to jump on things and just make things happen and create things. I think my qualities are better when I actually, maybe call it like run after doing stuff and making my own, setting my own goals, setting my own missions. And I'm less good at when someone tells me exactly just do 1, 2, 3, 4 in his way. So yeah, it just kind of brings better attributes of me out, I think, and I'm more passionate, and that's kind of how I feel now at Maccabi Haifa. The manager just trusts me. He's like, I know you're good, you're doing what you're doing, and we think alike. Run on your stuff and don't stop.
Talking about the US culture, and I didn't know that you're from US. This is good. So I think college coaches now and club coaches want to impact in high school the players analytically. What you said before there was, if they're not used to it, sometimes it can be tough for them and for them to embrace it. What are some ways to kind of get through that barrier initially with a player that's maybe struggling with it?
Yeah, you want to kind of just show in a fun way, in a nice way, that it's just for them and it's part of their profession. And players are digging in deep into detail now, and the ones that are playing good and the ones that are getting trust from coaches are the ones that are doing stuff correct tactically. We're kind of past the days of the Cantona, that he just does whatever he wants and everyone else defends for him. Today, everyone has his role in defense, in the press, in the block. Everyone has his role in offense, spaces that he needs to occupy, timings that he needs to get to places, stuff he needs to look for. And no matter how good you are, if you can't really be a part of that, you're not going to find your way. And more often than not, from good club and from good level, you're going to drop out if you don't kind of engage with this. So players, I think, are starting to learn more that it's for them, and part of our role is to kind of emphasize that again in a way that kind of gets to them, and doesn't have to be always that direct and mean or something. It's it needs to come from a good place, from curiosity, from passion, from showing that, look, if you do this, you're actually going to improve, and you're going to be making more money next year, and you're going to be going on, and it's for you, it's for your career, and your career is short. It goes by like that. I mean, before you notice it, you're already a senior player, and before you notice that, your salary's already going down, and you're after your peak. And a lot of these players, they rely on what they get in these years for their whole life. It's definitely their foundation for their whole life. And a lot of them are not going to be getting education during this time, and you kind of can show them, look, I mean, this can really make a difference for you. So I've got players that here in Israel, no one would believe on their characteristic how analytical they would be, and how much they'd be watching video, and how much they'd be asking about it, and so that's kind of about it, I think.
I know you don't enforce it, and you said earlier it's not a rule that they have to, but you had a little comment there about looking at the hours. Do you is that something you look at out of curiosity, just see who's
exactly, and then I know who to approach and when. I mean, I have, so for example, like some of the more attacking players who are very creative, right? So I think a lot of times for them, sometimes the group sessions that we do is enough, and even more than enough. One of our players who's a winger, he does a very in-depth post-match with himself, but he doesn't want to know about his opponents. He wants to kind of just come very fresh and perform and be creative. So it's really down to every player to kind of see what suits him, but you want to get them all to an area that they know that it can help and what it can do for them, and then they find in that they find themselves what's good for them, what they need, what they don't need, what their rituals are. I mean, one of the players we do, like he won't go into before the game on the game day, but I'll come with his matchup, his defender, and just show like a quick 1 minute video when he's on his physiotherapy, quick 1.5 minute video where you want to attack him, what his weak leg is, where he's late, if he comes and tackles aggressive to the ball because he wants to not get into a real defensive 1v1 duel, or he'll wait for you because he's a bit more of an experienced defender. It kind of depends, you know. So I'll show that kind of stuff to him, and really everyone takes it to his own zone, his own area.
You mentioned earlier about you coaching as well, getting out on the pitch and delivering and helping. Is that something that, have you seen an increase in that role of coach-analyst? It's obviously going to help you as an analyst get points across, right, and connect with players.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's question. That's probably two questions. So I'll say second part. Yeah. I mean, my points, I can get them across a lot better when I'm on the pitch, and especially on the tactical trainings. I can be with specific players that I know that are kind of crucial for certain things in the game, and kind of make sure that they understand it. So that's that. And then also, I think that players a lot of time have a different appreciation to someone who's on the pitch playing with them. He can, he can make a few passes. I join in on games 5-a-side sometimes, and, give a nice tackle. It'll definitely help for someone to, want to listen to me later. And understandably, sometimes we can, sit on the side and say, hey, he's not listening, and I've been collecting stuff and trying, but he doesn't care. But yeah, I mean, sometimes he wants to, feel some kind of personality next to him. So I feel that kind of gives me a way to kind of connect to them more. In the end, it's a game that we all connect from by playing in the basics of it years ago. So I think when you play with someone and he kind of feels that you feel the game and can, and gets that feeling from you, he'll want to, maybe engage with you more later. So yeah, that kind of just, gets the relationship a lot closer. I think I saw that the training ground guru put something about Anderlecht, that they've got a analyst who very much kind of sees himself that way, and I think it's coming along more and more. I think when I started analyzing, it was coding was a big issue, but now we kind of already get the codes because we have the XMLs, so that's kind of out of the way now, and we're more concerned with making value out of the video / data than cutting it and sorting it, because I think most of the analyst time used to be just sorting stuff, coding stuff, just trying to organize things all the time. But now everything's kind of just already there, and it's just about creating value from it, and how do we take this video and actually improve from it as a team, as an individual, for the coach to know more about what's going on. So I think this kind of role is kind of emerging, and it's very natural that the more the game is also getting tactical and developing, that the analyst will just be closer to the coach and closer to the players and on the pitch. So it just feels very natural, this kind of whole transition.
Yeah, the game's definitely moving fast, and I'm sure your schedule is 100 miles an hour, and your career's just how do you personally, how do you stay ahead, best practices? What are some things you do to maintain that?
Yeah, I mean, follow pages like yours and all the all the stuff that you've got on the internet, on the Twitter these days. It's just an amazing platform. You want to stay up to date. Unfortunately, we don't have tracking data yet in our league, but we will have next year. So, I'm just always learning, reading, watching the different videos, podcasts, just, trying to see what everyone's doing, where the game is going to, criticize what people are doing, sometimes with myself. Just, try to always stay on top and refresh. I mean, I feel as myself that if I kind of start losing interest in things and don't always learn, I might start getting a bit rotten. And I think that, same for coaches and stuff. I mean, the ones that have kind of, been not doing great recent years, I think they've kind of been sticking to stuff that they used to do and speaking about the past and not constantly developing and going forward and being up to, what's next and learning this new generation who's very different than the generation before. Pros and cons, but you just have to find the right way to engage it. So just really trying to stay up to date with stuff, and learn as much as I can, always reflect on what we do, speak to the players, what they're looking for next. Just constantly try to find ideas and also bring stuff from outside of football. So I met with one of the better basketball coaches here in Israel recently, and he kind of opened my mind to something else. Just all the time, just trying to find new things, new inspirations, new ideas.
I saw you on social media. I saw you were at a conference in Portugal.
Right, Portugal, yeah.
What are some of the best coach education conferences, courses that you've done as an analyst?
Yeah, for me, I'm a huge fan of I Coach Kids. I literally follow and read and translate to Hebrew every article that comes out.
Wow.
So and I lecture about a lot of the stuff that they do and kind of connect it to my time at Chelsea as well. Because I think the most important thing in football is the youth development and the education side. And if you don't do that well, then your senior players aren't going to be that good, and you're not going to be that successful as a nation. Because with all respect and love to the analysis, I mean, it's only going to improve you that much. It's that kind of extra percentages, but it's not the foundation when you do it at senior level. So it's fun and there's loads of adrenaline and it's addictive as more than anything I could say. It's just it's crazy, but again, it's kind of the cream, and it's not the real beginning work from the young ages, and that's kind of what I focus on outside my full-time role, to kind of get the awareness of that more and try to bring that kind of I Coach Kids culture to Israel. That's really what I focus on. So they were there at the conference in Portugal, and then also it was very mind-opening to see the way the Portuguese speak about football in terms of their language, and I think language is something very special in football, because the terminology that you use kind of shows a lot about what you're thinking about, what you're focusing on. And I found over there that the word that just popped up the most by far was solutions. They're all about just finding the right solution all the time. And I went to Benfica training sessions. They hosted me there. I went to Estoril training sessions as well in the academies. And you can see the coaches talking about that all the time. They're just trying to make, dynamic problems and let the kids solve them by themselves and see the solutions that they come up with all the time. So that was just very mind-opening, and they kind of, break the game down into very small, 2v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, 3v2s, small situations, make players, play fast so their instincts work and they make decisions by their instincts. So that was just, another mind-opening way to see how they see the game. And to be fair, I think that Israel should take a lot of inspiration from them, because it's also a small country, a warm country as well. And I think that culturally and I think, as well, the people, the human nature is a bit more similar to them. Let's say, we might be very different from Germans, who are a lot taller and with, in a different culture. And over there, it's more, I think, technical, smaller, quick, which I think kind of suits our football a bit more. So again, just, very mind-opening, made a lot of good contacts and kept in touch with. So yeah.
Last two for you, and they're both advice questions. And the first one is, Someone sent me an email a couple of weeks ago, and it was a young player, had a connection with him for his coach, and he's 23, finishing up college, and he says, I want to work on the analysis side. What's your advice, and what do I do? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh wow, that's actually a good one. I don't know, but I'll ask. What are someone even if they're in the UK and they're 18, or if they're in the US and they're 21, 22, and they're thinking that I want to go in that direction. What advice would you give them?
Look, I think that you always kind of have to try to, according also to the timing and to your experience, but to try to as much, combine practical experience with learning the theory. And if you want to be, especially if you come from outside the football, meaning you weren't a player and you want to kind of come into the football, there's always going to be a little bit of suspicion, and you want to show that you're on top of the game and you know what's going on, at least as good as everyone else. So tactic-wise, strategy-wise, you want to know how a lot of teams play, what teams are doing, what's going on in modern days, what people are doing with their back line of 5, what people are doing now with the 4. Just, really try to get a deep understanding of the game on the one side. On the other side, you want to kind of get your practice. So you want to know that you can actually be productive, do things, because it's actually a bit different in England, but here in Israel, I mean, when you come in as an analyst, for example, or as a new assistant coach or something, people are not really bothered to start teaching you everything and be very patient and kind, but they're like, okay, you're here, why'd you come, what can you give me, what can you do, all right, let's go, start working, let's bring you value. So because it's not as big as systems as in other places, so there's less time for internships and teaching and that kind of stuff. So you kind of need to build your way that you can do stuff on the pitch, work with players, work with video, create stuff on your own, and don't wait to be taught and to be fed with a spoon. But you want to actually show that you're kind of taking responsibility and you're learning, that you can do stuff, you can bring value, and then people are just going to want you in. So I think that's kind of a focused way to think.
And then on the career side, then, from going back to your Loughborough and to put those applications out, what are some ways to, I suppose, appear as professional as you can whenever you're looking for those jobs?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was very important to try to always be special and stand out, I guess. Try not to do what everyone else is doing, because then I know that I wouldn't shine on these CVs. And in England, it works very organized. So, you have the whole process of CVs and cover letters and all that. So, sometimes you want to be a little bit brave and maybe, put in something that, that no one else would have put in. Something maybe, a little bit funny, something a little bit, some kind of experience that you'd imagine that actually, someone else wouldn't have, but then you can kind of link it and explain what you got out of it, and how that you feel and think that can help you in the club, bring special and other qualities. So things like that, just, try to stand out in a way that makes sense, that it would be helpful. Because in the end of the day, also, football, maybe in contrast from other types of jobs, everyone's there to have fun every day. You want to enjoy, you want to bring some other stuff than just, coming, sitting on your laptop, doing your job and going home. You want people that are kind of living it. So to just kind of show that you're alive and that you can, you've got some qualities other than just, regular school and regular, that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. Adam, thank you so much. Wow, what a great interview. Loved it.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed it as well.